Okay, we're moving the agenda, and we're down to recognition of visitors. We have 5. I need to read a statement before you come to the mic. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. A yellow caution card will appear when 1 minute remains, and a red card will appear when time expires. Dr. Spangler is our timekeeper. District 1 at the end of the table there. At this point, please conclude remarks. No speaker shall indulge in personal attacks while speaking. All comments are to be addressed directly to the Board of Education. Personal concerns may be addressed in writing to the Superintendent or the President of the Board of Education. Our first speaker for this evening is Dr. Tommy Farmer, textbooks.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
To Mr. Worthy, Dr. Lanou, and members of the Board of Education. My name is Tommy Farmer, and I am up with Athens, Clarke County NAACP. I would like to share with you our position and belief statements pertaining to technology, tablets versus textbooks. We firmly believe that until the technology field is level for all students in this district, especially at home, until there is no digital divide, until there is no socioeconomic divide, and until all students are learning exactly the same way, we feel the Clarke County School District should provide textbooks, math, English, reading, for all of our students to take home so that they could further their study, review, and clarification. We further believe that the amount of dollars per student received in this district is sufficient enough to supply these textbooks for all students to take home. We believe homework assignments should employ the use of textbooks. This will enable our parents, homework helpers, and tutors to further understand the standards and be in accord with what the teachers are presenting. We appreciate the advances that the students have made in technology. We know there are pros and cons, but until this debate is settled, we firmly believe that all students in the Clarke County School District should be supplied with a math, reading, and English textbook to take home for extended study, clarification, and review. We firmly believe that the Clarke County School District should include funds for these books in their annual budget. We urge you, the Board of Education, and others to address this issue immediately. The Athens Clarke County NAACP is available for further dialogue. And we leave with you this question. Are we truly doing whatever it takes to address the different learning styles of all of our students? Our students still need textbooks to take home. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farmer. Our next speaker for this evening is Alfred Vick. Request to consider lead certification for Barnett Shoals Elementary Splice project.
Good evening. Thank you. Dr. Lanou, President Worthy, members of the board. My name is Alfred Vick. I'm a parent at Barnett Shoals Elementary School. My son McKinley is in first grade, and my daughter Nico will be at Barnett Shoals in just a couple of years. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to address you all tonight. I'm here to ask that you consider a request to pursue LEED certification for the Barnett Shoals Elementary School Reconstruction project funded through Splice. If you're not already familiar, LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a voluntary rating system for green buildings. It's administered by the U.S. Green Building Council. It is the most used, most widely recognized, and most respected green building certification standard in existence today. There's over 10.4 billion square feet of building space participating in this program around the world, most of it here in the U.S. Clarke County schools in recent years have made great strides towards green building. The success of Fowler Drive Elementary, for example, exemplifies the benefits and feasibility of green building strategies that enhance the learning environment and energize the school community. Barnett Shoals Elementary School itself has for over 20 years stood out as a leader in environmental education and the provision of outdoor learning gardens. And thank you, David Stubbs, for the leadership that he's shown in all this over the years. I believe it's time to build on these successes and work towards an even greater achievements in creating world-class learning facilities here in Clarke County. Now, contrary to popular belief, LEED buildings do not have to cost a penny more than conventional schools. There was a widely recognized study by Davis Langdon, a big real estate firm, and they found, and I quote this, LEED-seeking academic buildings are scattered broadly throughout the population with no significant difference in the average costs of LEED-seeking and non-LEED-seeking buildings. End quote. Now, there are some soft costs which are minimal. Certification fees are in the range of $6,000. Additional services like building commissioning and documentation of building services or building performance may add another 1% to the project budget. But in return, the third-party certification validates that the building was built as designed with performance in mind and can be expected to perform as intended. That enhanced performance, of course, which on average is 33% reduction in energy use, 32% reduction in water use, translates to dollars saved in operating costs. More importantly, green schools improve student health, student performance, and teacher satisfaction and retention. And the LEED rating system provides guidance on a number of factors: indoor air quality, acoustical performance, natural daylight, and thermal comfort. This gets to the point. The environmental aspects of LEED are great, they're the right thing to do, and they save money, but the primary objective is enhancing the learning environment and creating schools that inspire as well as keep students warm and dry. In summary, I guess I'm about close to time, I think pursuing LEED certification will ensure that the new Barnett Shoals Elementary School will be an inspiring school, not just a new school. I'm asking you to consider directing the Splost office to pursue LEED certification on this project and invest the necessary upfront soft costs that would generate, I think, substantial return for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vick. Our next speaker for this evening is Mr. Ernest Thompson, concerns about use of technology rather than textbooks. Mr. Thompson.
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent Lanu and President Worthy and members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to address you. And let me begin by saying my background is in technology. I spent a career as a software engineer. So my natural instinct is to approve of technological advances, and in fact I have to congratulate you on your audacious work in going in this direction. Change of this magnitude is always going to be disruptive, at least for some people and probably many folks. And I encounter friends who really strongly upset about the program. The analogy that I draw, I suggested to one friend who was opposing that, the horse served us well for at least 5,000 years, probably more. But when the automobile came along, it had to go, and although many people pointed out all the problems that were coming. This thing, people were going to get drunk and hit each other and run over children, and the things were going to explode. And all of those things actually happened, although hopefully our tablets won't explode. But I do have a concern, and my concern is that I became aware of this change in the school system just a couple of months ago, and it came like a shock to me and said, I was told the kids can't take books home anymore. And I can't, come on, all through my school career, I took books home. What do you mean? What are they doing, And nobody seemed to have much information about it. And so my suggestion is that we really need to sell the program to the community and to the parents. I think you'd benefit yourself by getting people on board and really selling the advantages, which I think are many, and listening to their concerns about the problems and the disruptions that will certainly come up. And so while I support the idea, at least I really think I do, I don't know the details of your program of exactly what you're doing. One of the problems I've heard is that the program has been implemented, but the tablets aren't available yet. You know, the things like this, and people saying that's crazy. Well, I don't know if it's crazy or not, but that's just an illustration of the fact that we do need, I think, to give people more detailed information about what's going to happen and what's the time frame. In what schools is this already in place, and what schools are still in the old system? So let's just share more with the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Our next speaker for this evening is Dr. Tawana Maddox, Textbook Accessibility.
Good afternoon to Dr. Lanou and Mr. Worthy and members of the board. I'm going to use my smartphone to look at my notes here. I am a proponent of technology. I love technology, as a matter of fact. That's my background as well. However, I'm coming to you tonight as a community person who tutors a lot of children in this community. And one of the things I'm concerned about is the parental support. And recently, I've had problems because I've realized I'm not smarter than an 8th grader when it comes to math. In our tutoring program, we work with struggling readers. But recently, we've had to kind of, work with math. And several of my students were not allowed to bring their textbooks home. And so what happens is, we have a 2-hour period, so that takes away from, being able to assist them. And at the same time, I want to make sure that we're tutoring them in line with the instructors, because I'm kind of old school. And even one set of problems that I assisted a student with, she came back the next week and told me that her teacher said it was incorrect. It was the correct answer, but I used shortcuts because that's how I was taught. And so it's different now in terms of what is expected. And so I do believe and ask that children are allowed to bring textbooks home, especially when it comes to assisting their parents, because my students bring home agenda books and they have a little sheet of paper and it's stapled to it. And sometimes they can't read their own writing, so we don't know what the instructor has shown them or demonstrated. So I just ask that you please consider allowing students to bring home textbooks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maddox. Our last speaker is Mr. James Ford, textbooks.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is James Ford, and I first would like to thank the board for allowing me to speak this evening. I want to speak regarding the lack of textbooks in the Clarke County School District. I first became aware of this situation when my daughter came home with math homework. And she was struggling with the math homework, so she said, "Daddy, I need some help with the homework." So being 20 years removed from high school, I said, "Baby," I said, "if I help you with this homework, it's going to be wrong." So I said, "Where's your, where's your math book so we can work through it?" And she said, "Daddy, we don't have math books." I said, "You don't have books?" She said, "No, we don't have books." So we went on to go online and find some resources to help her out. And so, and she, did okay. But then the next day I went to speak to the principal just to get clarity because I needed more information on it. And he confirmed to me that, no, the kids did not have traditional textbooks to take home. He also made an attempt to convince me that the kids were learning better without textbooks. And that was hard for me to process simply because of my own personal experience with my daughter. He also assured me that he could get my daughter the resources that she needed, but my concern was that all the kids in the school and all the kids in the school district had all the resources that they needed to learn, because to me, books are the basics of learning. Something that has always worked. My grandfather graduated high school in 1936. He had books, and so to fast forward to 2013, and the kids don't have books or the computers that they need to learn. It's something that I couldn't understand, and so. Another thing that I did was I polled parents and asked them if their kids had books. Every single one of these parents told me, yes, my kid has books. They soon came back to confirm to me that no, my kid doesn't have books. So that told me a couple of things. For one, as parents in the community, we can do a little bit better. Two, I saw a major problem with communication between the school district and the parents and the community with issues that are important as books. So again, I'm a concerned parent, concerned citizen. I have 4 kids in Clarke County. I also run a mentoring program that works with African American males, and so I deal with a lot of these things hands-on. So I just asked the board to please reconsider position with books and the lack of books in Clarke County School District. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ford, and we want to take the opportunity to thank all of our speakers for your concerns and comments this evening. And we're going to go ahead and move the agenda. We're down to the superintendent's report. Dr. Lanu.
Thanks, President Worthy, and just a couple of items this evening on my report. First, I sent a notice to the board and want to make public a large congratulations, as recently we were informed that we had 3 reward schools for this year. Reward schools for high progress, that is those schools, Title I schools that are in the top 10% for growth and improvement. And I want to congratulate those 3 schools as they are Coyle Middle School, Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School, and Chase Elementary School. Also, we received notice, and it'll be more public, but I guess it's public now, and that is that the state of Georgia identifies 2 schools that they consider to be national distinguished Title I schools. They choose 2 from the state of Georgia to be recognized for their gains, and we have one of them. Chase Elementary School is recognized as a national Title I distinguished school, one of 2 recognized this year by the state of Georgia at the national level. So certainly to those schools, I think they represent the work that we're doing in all of our schools, and it's just really nice to see, and my compliments to them. I'd also like to read a card received from Board Member Payne. I want to make this public. Thank you for the beautiful flowers. It not only brightened my room, lifted my spirit, and helped me make, sorry, Spain, I gotta get my glasses. Molehills out of mountains. I knew that's what it would be. Words cannot express the love I have for all of you. Thank you for all that you've done, especially for your thoughts, thoughtfulness, and prayers. And it's just good to have you back and straighten up, Mr. Payne. But welcome back, and I'll lead us in. I hope you have a director's report today. But certainly, well, we're just glad you're back, and thank you for the kind note on behalf of the board. And that concludes my report for this evening, President Worthy.
All right, you set a record.
I did. All right. Does that mean I'm long-winded? Yeah, okay.
Okay, Mr. Payne, you on here for the GSBA District 11 Director's Report.
Yeah, I am so happy to be back, and I want to thank all of you for your kindness. My GS report shall be short. As all of you know, that our superintendent has been one of the 4 finalists in Superintendent of the Year. And so I am asking that the board members, we don't know who will be the winner, but hopefully that the board, we will have a lot of board members at our annual conference in December at the Waverly Hotel. I would hope that he would win. I don't know who's going to win, but certainly all of you that can bow your head and bow your knees, just send up a prayer. That is, we're hoping no one is more deserving than our superintendent. When I read all the accomplishments and look back how far we've come since he's been here, I don't think that no one could have brought us as quickly and as fast as he has with everybody aboard. Now there may be some of those who will complain about various things, but you know that just goes with the territory. But Dr. Lanu, I'm hoping that a lot of the board members will be there. I will be there, and certainly we will hope that you will win. And if you do, I hope that you would bring an entourage. The superintendent of the year last year, it was just beautiful. He had everybody, just about that he could think of. I think there was about 30 people there, and even down the pastor from his church was there. And it was a very colorful and very moving event for him to be superintendent of the year. So my hat's off to you for bringing us to where we are and being nominated Superintendent of the Year. We're very proud of all the work that you've done and doing, and we hope that we can be proud and come back with the Superintendent of the Year from the Georgia School Board Association.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Payne.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. We setting records tonight. Okay, Dr. Lanou, we're going back to you on item F, policy
An
and
item,
discussion.
Ed, and this is policy transfer and withdrawals will be up for public review. If there are any questions regarding that policy. If not, we will put that up for public review, and we'll certainly, if there's any questions, we can take those up in 4 weeks.
Okay,
Let's go to action items.
all right.
Action items, first would be your minutes of the previous meetings.
Yeah, the minutes for the previous meetings, we had two, October the 3rd at the work session and regular meeting on October the 10th. I've reviewed those minutes, and of course, you have, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Mr. Payne. May I have a second on that? Second from Ms. Davis. Do we have any questions pertaining to the minutes? Any questions pertaining to the minutes? All in favor for approval? Okay, thank you very much. Unanimous vote, motion carries. Okay, financial report, Dr. Lanou.
The financial report, and if I can make a comment before I ask that you approve the report for June, July, and August, and I want to certainly compliment once again Mr. Hamill, who is our CFO, who has been doing tremendous work for us in terms of the procedures, not only for having a really good audit with no audit points, I think is just certainly keeping us in line of our fiscal responsibilities and how we can fiscally make changes. And I want to thank not just Mr. Hamill now and everybody in every department as we closed out FY13. For most know that we anticipated that we would look at somewhere in the vicinity of a $7 million spending gap when we proposed the FY13 budget 2 years ago. And that budget, I think, made a lot of us nervous because it led to some things that could have been very painful. And we had to make some hard choices and some hard times to put us in a very strong fiscal position. Well, I'm pleased to announce that as we close the 2013 account, that we in fact are $2 million to the plus and not $7 million to the deficit spending. And that has occurred in two ways, both very significant. One is an estimated $5 million, in fact, there's approximately $5 million in revenues. I think it served us well that we continue to predict conservatively on revenues. We would do that in our own banking accounts and our own spending accounts, and we need to do it here, and we have. But I think the larger piece is that we reduced our expenditures by close to $4 million. And so when you look at our expenditures for 2013 at around $115 million, as compared to typically $120 and $122 million that we've had in the past, and then you put on our added expenses and health costs, I think it shows that people are working really hard, changing workflows, adding responsibilities, for us being more efficient. I think our programs are stronger, and fiscally, we are in tremendous shape with an anticipated $21 million fund balance that we will have after close of FY13 from our operations. Put that in perspective of a $6 million fund balance that we had 5 years ago in predictions. So in these austere times, in these very austere times, we have streamlined our workflow. We have begun fiscally responsible. We have added programs. We've leveraged resources where they needed to be. And we are as fiscally sound, I think, of any district in the state of Georgia. So it's to Larry, certainly, as we work with him, and he keeps us straight, but it's to Dr. Price and Mr. Hardaway and Mr. Gilbert and Lynn Duke and the teachers and the principals who we began to say, if we can do it differently, let's do it differently. So I wanted to make that note because I think there's lots to celebrate with that simply just before we do our financial report. So with that, I'll ask that we approve the financial report.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent, approval of the financial report. That's for what, June and August?
June, July, and August.
June, July, and August, okay? Having reviewed that, I'll entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Ms. Davis. Got a second on that? Second by Mr. Huff. Any questions pertaining to the financial report? Any questions? All in favor? Go right ahead, please. Thank you very much. Motion carried. Item 3, Dr.
Item 3, this requires no action, but it's sort of a no action. That we know that regulations aren't voted on, but if the board has a problem with a regulation, we pull it. Are there any problems? We don't need to vote, but are there any questions or problems with regulation IDEA and the exhibit? Barring none, those will go into effect after this meeting.
All right, are we moving forward?
Number 4, we're moving forward. Number 4 is sort of the same way, but we typically put our regulations on the table, not on the table. We put regulations for public view and comment. Since that's our practice, but these are regulations we don't vote on, I'm asking that we suspend the rules of making these public for 4 weeks, and then I'll ask if you've got any problems with them. So I'd ask for a vote to suspend the rules of putting these regulations up for public view for 4 weeks.
Okay, Mr. Payne?
I move that we suspend the rule.
Okay, moved by Mr. Payne. We got a second on that. Second from Ms. Williams. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Superintendent.
So with that, you voted. Now, you don't have to vote, but if you've got a problem with regulation KGR, and this is regarding facilities, and I want to make a particular note on facilities for the public, and I applaud the efforts of all of us in the board. There are some language changes that allow facility use for public groups with certain conditions if it involves our students and it involves our employees and adults, and specifically those like the Classic City Band. Under this new regulation, it will allow us to provide the building rent-free, but not free from custodial use if that is required, or any other types of facilities, but the actual fee. And so I compliment all the board as that moves forward.
Let me ask one question, Dr. Lanou. I asked this question last week, and I think Ms. Ellis responded to it. That in the past we've had churches to meet at our schools, and of course you have students involved in those churches. And she said, well, the difference in that is not curriculum connected.
Right.
Now I've gone through here. I may have overlooked it now. Okay, but I didn't see that in this regulation, and since that was mentioned, if it's not in there, I think it would be a good idea to add that in there.
And actually, I'm going to look over your shoulder. It's right here. And whose activities complement the school's curriculum.
Okay, all right. Not say it the way.
Yeah, a little different wording.
Okay, well,
I got it.
Okay, all right. I'm good.
Are we good?
All right. Okay.
Are there any other questions? If there are no questions and people are feeling good, this will go into effect immediately after this meeting.
Okay. All righty.
I guess they'll go into effect. Thank you.
Consent agenda.
And just a note on the consent agenda, on this, of course, we talked about at our work session the addition of putting 2 furlough days back into the calendar for all employees who are furloughed. I want to echo again, I thank the board for their strong support. This support is for teachers and employees who, again, have incurred additional workloads and who continue to serve our kids well, serve our district well, have not complained, and have done the work that's anticipated and then beyond. So to be able to put these days back in, to complement and help them further do their work and to compensate them for it, I think is a real tribute to the board for putting the resources in the right place, which is our people. So I just want to make a comment because that's on the consent agenda. So with that, I recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, recommendation on the consent agenda from the superintendent, moved by Mr. Payne. We got a second on that. Second by Dr. Spangler. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried. Okay, we're down.
Number 20 is the academic calendar for 2014-15. The reason the process we use now compared to previous, we used to do it every 2 years, but that would allow people not to be able to plan a year ahead. So I think we've received good feedback for 2 or 3 years. People are comfortable with this calendar. So therefore, I'm asking that we just continue and add the 14-15 calendar under the same guidelines and principles in which we've developed the calendar. It is 176 student days and 14 professional days. That was a decision we made early on because of the importance of common planning and teachers preparing to do what we think is the most effective work in those 176 days. So therefore, I asked approval, academic calendar 2014-15, and the legends have been corrected.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on the 2014-2015 academic calendar. We have a motion on that. Moved by Dr. Spangler. Got a second from Mr. Huff. Any questions pertaining to the academic calendar? Go ahead, Mr. Huff.
I'm still, what's in my packet still has some colors that don't match up, so.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week.
And I thought those
We got them fixed.
got changed, but
That's
maybe
right.
It may not come through.
did it
on
come
the-
through on our iPad differently?
I don't know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's-
it's-
There's blue and there's no legend blue, and so.
There is on the original one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm wondering,
I think it's not coming through.
I'm looking at.
we can look at it up here? Let's look at it.
She's gonna pull it up.
Okay. It's not gonna be the same.
What's that?
It's not
Blue
gonna
is
be the same.
professional learning days. So
See, it doesn't
It
come
looks
up clearly,
purple
though, that's
or
the thing.
something.
It was blue on my screen.
Does it?
This is the projector, it's very blue.
Well, I'm working from a notebook and I see that the colors
So
they have.
if I can simply go through this so people, so we understand what it is and clarify, I can go back, if we can go back down to the beginning of the year. What you're gonna see here in August are those blue days. That's the start of school, that's pre-planning.
Colors are not correct yet.
No, they are. The shape
The colors are not correct at the bottom, so that's.
The legend is plum
Yeah,
and it should
the
be
legend.
blue.
All right, let me explain the calendar so we make sure that I don't get confused with the legend.
Right.
Okay. So what happened, and I'll get it clear, but it's the same premise of this year. We'll do 6 days of pre-service. You'll notice that on the yellow days are non-work days, holidays. That we also have the other blue, and you can see them in October 13th. You can see February 16th. In April, those are professional work days. Those are professional learning days that we put in the calendar. You can see that we have all of Thanksgiving off. That was popular. We used to go until Monday and Tuesday. We don't. You can see that we have roughly 2 weeks off at the Christmas break or the holiday break with New Year's. We have 2 weeks off, and then we will finalize our days with graduation on May 20, well, we'll set it's probably 23rd. We also have 2 post-planning days we can get to bring teachers back to finish up the year and prepare for the next year. So there are 176 student days. There are 190 total days. The calendar, because we don't do semesters, you're not going to see them balanced equally anymore because we don't need to, because we're in a year-long schedule. And 14 professional days, correct.
Okay. Are we all clear on the colors? Days. Okay. Any other questions pertaining to the academic calendar, 2014?
Mr. Huff, you the one to ask it.
So
Does that clear that up for you, Ms.
Yeah,
Huff?
that clears it up.
Any other questions? Not? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion carried.
great, thank you. We'll
Mercenary.
find out where these color disconnect, because I've got it here, not here. We'll get it to you. My apologies for that.
We have 2 different calendars. One is 2013-14, this is 2014.
14, right. The 2013-14 was consent agenda,
Yeah.
which was to add the 2 days, work days in the calendar in 14-15.
That second one is perfect.
Okay. So the next one is finally I'm asked on the personnel recommendation that we approve the personnel recommendations, the addenda, and the job description.
Okay. All right, recommendation from the superintendent on personnel recommendations. Moved by Mr. Huff, got a second on that, second by Dr. Spangler. All in favor? Okay, thank you, motion carried. Okay?
All right?
Did you vote for that?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was a unanimous vote, okay.
Guess at this point that I recommend an executive session for the following reason: appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, dismissal, or evaluation of employees, which would be me. So ask for executive session.
Okay, executive session, need a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Payne, seconded by Ms. Davis, all in favor. Thank you very much. Okay.